Hello guys and welcome back to a new Girls Frontline 2 video. The Robella Rerun banner has officially arrived, and a lot of players are wondering the same thing. Is Robella still worth pulling in the current meta? With new characters and team comps constantly changing the game, Rerun banners are always a big decision. Before we get into it, quick reminder. I already made a full in-depth Robella guide on the channel where I break down her entire kit, best builds, weapons, and team comps. So if you want the complete deep dive on how to use her properly, definitely check that video out after this one. In this video, we're focusing purely on whether she's still worth pulling on her rerun. Robella is essentially a close-range DPS focused on freeze interactions and burst damage. Her kit revolves around applying stacks or debuffs to enemies, and then detonating those stacks with powerful follow-up attacks and her ultimate. Because of this, she performs best in teams that can support freeze mechanics, or benefit from enemies being frozen or weakened. In those kinds of setups, Robella can deal very high burst damage and control enemies at the same time. When it comes to the current meta in Girls Frontline 2, Robella is still considered a strong unit overall, especially for players building freeze-focused compositions. Her damage potential remains very respectable, and she can function as a main damage dealer in the right team. She also has decent AoE pressure in close-range fights, which helps a lot in stages where enemies cluster together. However, her value really depends on team synergy. Robella is one of those characters who performs much better when the rest of the squad supports her mechanics. If you run her in a team that can consistently enable freeze effects or stack her debuffs faster, she becomes significantly more dangerous and can output some very strong burst damage. At the same time, she does have a few limitations. One of the biggest ones is that she often needs a little setup time before reaching her full damage potential. Building stacks and setting up her burst means she performs better in longer fights, such as boss encounters or tougher elite stages, rather than extremely fast clears. If your roster already has multiple strong DPS characters that require less setup, Robella may feel a bit less impactful. So the big question, should you pull on this rerun banner? If you're interested in building a freeze-focused team, or if you're missing a strong DPS that works well with those mechanics, then Robella can absolutely be worth pulling even on her rerun. She still performs very well in the right environment and can be a core unit for that strategy. On the other hand, if your account doesn't really focus on freeze synergy, or if you're currently saving resources for upcoming characters, this banner becomes much easier to skip. Robella is strong, but she's not necessarily a must-pull for every account, especially if your roster already has reliable damage dealers. Overall, Robella is still a good and relevant unit in the current meta, but this rerun is more of a targeted banner for players who specifically want her playstyle or want to invest in freeze teams. And again, if you want the full breakdown of her kit, make sure to check out my complete Robella guide on the channel. Good luck if you decide to pull, Commanders, and I'll see you in the next video.